Hi, and welcome to Edmentum courseware. My name is Crystal, and today I'll be walking you through how to use flex assignments in your science courses. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll begin by looking at what flex assignments are, and as you'll see on the screen, flex assignments are just courseware's supplemental tool that allows educators to give students additional curriculum. So that can be in whatever form that you need to give additional curriculum outside of your course. And you can always add that material back into your course. So if a student is working on a project or maybe some extra credit activities, then you can definitely give that as a flex assignment and then put the grades or scores back into your course if needed. So let's talk about why you would want to use flex assignments. And I have a few reasons here, but these are just suggestions. You're welcome to use them as you need to. So number one, you can introduce new material to students. So say for instance, you have a transient student who may have never heard of a concept that you're talking about. Or maybe they are maybe your student is just not familiar with something that you're about to introduce or a backstory behind something. You can introduce the curriculum to the student through flex assignments. You can also give students additional information, so you can advance students with your flex assignments. Say for instance, you have a student who is really interested in science, but how to apply it in the real world. You can give real life examples using your flex assignments. You can give them additional curriculum on the jobs that are in that subject or that are in science. You can also reinforce something that was taught earlier in the class. Say for instance, you have chemistry and you are teaching your students stoichiometry, but they're really struggling, number one, with the periodic table, not being able to identify those concepts. We're going to look at an example just like that, but you can definitely reinforce what they've already learned. Maybe they just forgot over a break or something like that in order to re-give that information. You can also scaffold a student's learning. So think again about that transient student who may have moved from school to school just because of their parents' jobs or something like that. What flex assignments allows you to do is, again, give curriculum. So you can go back to maybe a concept that they missed in an earlier grade, maybe in another subject, and kind of scaffold the student's learning and really differentiate for the student. If you want to give extra credit, you have the option to do that. So you can set up projects, labs, things like that, or you can just provide any additional curriculum that is not a part of the course that you have. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about some ways I would use this in my science class. So again, flex assignments are supplemental, but science is a really fun subject because you get to do a lot of hands-on activities with the students, and students are really engaged in their learners. And flex assignments are a great way for you to pull those opportunities to the side and allow students to work on them. So you can provide hands-on learning opportunities like labs. We have just released a biology course that has labs in it. We have multiple unit activities, course activities that students can work on in their science courses, and we'll look at those. Also, you can allow your students to explore new concepts, and I mentioned here providing some real-world applications. So you'll see that our courses, we also include some career courses where students are introduced to a career maybe in their field, such as science. They can look at robotics, they can look at marine biology. All of those courses are available to you if you have purchased them in your library. You can use that material, say they're not necessarily taking that class, but you want to introduce something to them. You can use those courses to do so. You can also reinforce an earlier taught concepts. Again, that stoichiometry, maybe their math skills are just not as strong that they need them to be in, as you need them to be in chemistry. I know as a chemistry student, I struggled with the math skills because math wasn't my favorite subject. So a lot of the reason I struggled in chemistry was because of my math wasn't correct. So say for instance, you have that type of student who's struggling in math, you can provide some additional math for science. So you can give them measurements, you can give them, equations, something like that. And then also just to provide extra credit activities. So again, science is a harder subject for some students and they may need some extra credit in order to help their final grade. So you can give extra credit activities through the flex assignments as well. And all of these assignments don't have to be standalone assignments. You can definitely use them and put them back into the grade book for the student to get credit. And that is completely up to you. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the program so that we can look at some of these examples that I just provided you with. Okay, so I went ahead and opened up the Flex assignments, and what you do is you just click on the app switcher bar up here at the top and you choose Flex assignments, and when you click on it, it'll navigate you to this Flex assignments area. Now once you get here, you may or may not have classes if you've never used Flex assignments before. If you have, you may see classes that are old or classes that you've created previously. You can always deactivate them if you need to, but these are the classes that I'm going to be working with today. And if you need some assistance creating a Flex class, just click this button here and it's a pretty self-explanatory process. However, we do have a video on our YouTube page. So with that being said, here we have 4 Flex classes. I have a biology practice, a chem 101 lab, a STEM club, and tutoring. And this is just a grouping of my students. I just group them in the type of classes I want them to be in, and you can group them however you would like. So let's start with this biology practice. Right now I have 2 students in it, but 0 assignments. So one way to use this is to give assignments for students that are struggling or for students who may need some advanced work. I'm going to go ahead and click on New Assignment. And I'm going to start with students who are struggling. So in biology, students may be struggling with a variety of things. Maybe it's the meiosis and mitosis module, or maybe, you know, just something within biology like cells. If they are struggling and you need to give them some additional practice, you can come and create the assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and call this additional practice or biology. So again, say the student has already done the module and they just didn't do as well. Maybe they've exhausted their number of tries, or maybe this is something you want to do outside of the module that they have that's already been given to them. So you can go ahead and set this assignment up for supplemental instruction. So I'm going to choose the start date as today. I don't have to select the due date, so I'm not going to. You'll put any instructions you have here, any number of attempts that you want them to have for unlocking the mastery test, and then whether or not you want to assign students who are added to this class to assign them this assignment automatically lives there. Then you have the students who are in your Flex class. So you don't have to add all your students. You can differentiate and add a single learner, or maybe just 2 or 3 learners. Since I only have 2 learners in this class, let's just say in this scenario that I'm adding 1 learner, Shauna. And then down here at the bottom is where you can begin selecting your content. So you are given the option to use any of the Plato courses you already have in your library. You can also use any of the Plato titles, which I don't have any in my library, but if you do have some, you would see them listed there, or any custom courses that you have used before. You can use these filters up here at the top to get subject specific and grade level specific. You'll see my Flex assignment is here. I'll need to drag content from the left-hand side to the right-hand side in order to put it in my Flex class. I'm actually going to go to by standards because I want to show you that you could actually do a keyword search for the material you're looking for. So we have Common Core standards here. I'm just going to change that to the Minnesota Academic Standards, which is in my account. And then I'm going to go to my subject, which is science. Okay, so let's then change from the toggle here from select strands using the standard tree to select strands using keyword search, because maybe I'm not 100% sure where the what the strand is called or what exactly it says, but I do have an idea that I want sales for instance. So let's go ahead and type sales here. And then I get all of the objectives that align with sales. So recognize that sales do not look alike, and that that specialized cells in multicellular organisms are organized into tissues and organs that perform specialized functions. So if that's what my students are struggling on, I can click on that. And then if I scroll down here, it's going to give me all the activities, Plato courses, Plato titles, and also websites, so different websites that the students can go to learn more about cells that I can choose from to put in my Flex assignment. So I do recommend that you always view everything that you're going to give to a student just so you know what they're getting as the Flex assignment and to make sure it's not anything they've already gotten in the course. So we have this unit activity on cells. If I view that, it looks like it's something that the student has to turn in. They'll go through the module and learn a little bit about cells, about Petri dishes, and then it gives you a rubric to score. So this is something that requires a teacher activity or teacher activity to give feedback on. So that's definitely something you would want to consider, whether or not you want to be able to have to give feedback, or if you want this to be an automatic process, and if so, you wouldn't want to use this type of activity. Then you'll see what the student has to complete. So this one, the student is actually going to do a lab sort of activity. So also, if you're interested in giving your students labs, maybe as extra credit or outside of their class, maybe in a club or like the STEM club or any reason you would want to give the activity, you can do so. Just give the lab separately outside of the course. So this is a lab that the student would have to complete. And if you wanted that to be a part of your Flex assignment, you could just take it and drag it directly on this briefcase here and drop it, and that's what the student would have to complete. So maybe so if we look through kind of what these strands are saying and what objectives, I like this one right here, explain the function and importance of cell organelles for the prokaryote and eukaryote cells. So I'm going to scroll down and see what we are given. And let's see. There's an overview of cell structures and cell functions here, and it has a tutorial and a mastery test. So I like that. I'm going to go ahead and pull that over and put it towards the top. And then let's see, I can also look at the cells, prokaryote and eukaryote. It's an exploration and a mastery test, so I'm going to grab that over and put it up here. And then blood cells isn't really applicable right now, so I'm going to go ahead and take that out. We still have that unit activity. See what type of website we have. Okay, and we have a 3D cell model. So let's go ahead and pull that over, the 3D cell model, okay? So that gives my student a little additional practice. They have 2 mastery tests. They can go look at a model and then an activity that they can turn in. Everything looks good here. I don't want to add a pre-test and a post-test because only 2 modules. They don't need a whole lot on that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create assignment. So once I do that, the student who I assigned for that biology practice has the assignment. So it's really easy to set that up. So let's go see what that looks like on the student end. And there goes that assignment right there at the front. So I can click on all activities. And I can see exactly what I was assigned. So I have the tutorial and the mastery test. I have the prokaryote tutorial and mastery test. I have the 3D cells and the unit activity. So the student can then go in and complete that. Now when the student is done, and we'll be able to see her progress on the assignment. So if I go back to my Flex assignments, click on biology. Of course, I don't have any progress right now, but I'll be able to view her progress right here and her score. I'll be able to click on this and it'll show her score, her amount of time on task, as you see here. And then I can take that and put it back in my grade book. So if I go to courseware and I then click on my Cedar Ridge High School, teachers will go to menu and then my course sections. As an administrator, I'm just going to go to manage courses. And then I have this biology course here. It has a section that she's in right here. I'll just click on open gradebook. I'll find the student, which she isn't listed here, but just for example, say she was, and then I could come right here to the end of the gradebook. And I can add the additional activity here. So maybe she got 100. I could put that in and it'll count towards her grade. Maybe she did the other one and she made a 40, or let's say a 90. And then say she did that third one and she got a 85. We could add that in, okay? And that could all be a part of her score. Now, some other ways you could use this is to give labs. So let's use this chemistry lab, for instance. Let's click on the lab here. You would give the assignment a title. So I'm just going to put lab 1. You would add your students. I'm going to say you're setting this up ahead of time. You don't have to add students right away. So I'm going to go and I'm going to add a lab. Let's go to Unit 1. And we have this lab right here, classifying organisms. So I'll have them do that lab. And then I also want them to do a lab from Unit 3. So in this one, we have aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So I want them to do that one. And I'm just kind of setting these up ahead of time so that maybe they're not going to do it in the course. They're going to do it outside of the course as a supplemental activity. This will give them options for which one they want to do as they're going along during the year. Maybe they only have to complete 2 labs out of the whole year, or I'm sorry, whole semester. But you can give them their options there, and then if they're not already in the course, you can add those back. So I have 3 labs for my students to complete. I'll hit create assignment, and then the assignment has been created. As the students come in, I can edit my class, and I can add learners to the class. So let's say, you know, they were all the students from my biology practice course, maybe Corey here. I can just hit Corey and then save, and now Corey will get that assignment, okay? You can use that same type of logic for the STEM club, for your tutoring class, really any class that any students in class that you set up who need some additional practice in flex assignments or just need some additional supplemental curriculum to work on. You can do that through flex assignments, and that is how that works. So if you have any questions, feel free to give our support team a call. Their phone number is 800-869-2200, or click this support button down here if you didn't get that, and go into the support domain to look up the information, or the contact us area here, which will give you the number for support. And then finally, don't forget about our What's New page. If you want to check out everything that's coming to Edmentum courseware or any of our programs, just click What's New there and then choose your product, and you'll be able to see what's new and what's coming soon.